Hey guys, good to see you in the chat already. We rolling? Yeah, we are. We are. I hope so. Anyway, will this be the avocado episode? No. I don't have any more facts about the avocado. I think that's all that I have to say about that one. So yeah, thanks for coming by. Big shout out to Bybit, the sponsor of the show. They've added some new take profit and stop loss order. If you do want to check that out, links in the description. It's pretty cool stuff. But yeah, thanks to them for sponsoring, and thanks to you guys for coming by. Ring that bell, yeah, ring that bell. I don't think even Cred has said that before, but now I've said it. So yeah, if you do want to see this kind of stuff every time, the bell can help you. The whatever below the video, I think. Hey Don, could you show your top and bottom margin settings in TradingView? Right click settings appearance. Okay, here you go. I have not touched this, I think, in years. So if anything is not as it normally is, I changed it years ago. But yeah, so we're going into the monthly close. It's gonna be an interesting monthly close. I think I talked about this last week, so I'll just do it again, just because the monthly close is in 4 hours. So it's gonna be an interesting one. But yeah, so we start off with Bitcoin. The reason why a lot of people are excited is this close that's gonna happen right now, right? So you had this swing high set in that led to the entire pullback into the February March kind of crash, right? COVID crash into the recovery rally, and we kind of broke that swing high, and now we're retesting it, and so far it seems like we're holding it on the monthly, right? So what's next? Like, just based on TA, when supports hold in an uptrend, which you could argue this is, then you go to resistance usually, right? I'm not entirely sure if that's gonna happen, because we're pretty reliant on the global markets playing ball right now. But I mean, just based on pure TA, we're at support right now, and it would make sense to aim for resistance, right? I'm not even sure if I'm gonna play it, honestly, just based on the fact that I feel like the entire market just hinges on the traditionals too much right now, and I don't have that big of an edge in the traditional markets. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna just blindly trust the TA, but the TA view is we're at support, and it makes sense to aim for resistance, right? So that's the monthly. Looks pretty good in my opinion, just based on the chart. The same deal on the weekly, right? So we've had this 10.6 resistance here. Let me turn this off. 10.6 resistance here. Broke through, broke below it, but then regained it, finding support, right? So as long as 10.6 holds, this looks like a bullish chart as well, right? So you have like an uptrend, a massive uptrend here, and support held down here, failed here, but got reclaimed, right? So I mean, if you want to like truly be certain that this is gonna go up, you want to see this resistance be broken, right? The problem with that is, if you wait for that, you're probably missing at least half of the move, because I mean, at that point, like, if we start closing above 11.4, 11.5, right, the candle close isn't gonna be something like this, and then maybe you get like a retest or something. I think the candle close is gonna be more like something like this, and then you missed like 90% of the move, right? So, but yeah, for me, the technicals, like across all time frames, open up a bullish case, right? Support on the daily held, support on the weekly held, support on the monthly held. I think a good kind of cautious trigger would be if you waited for this resistance to get broken, right? And I might just do that. But yeah, I haven't really made up my mind how I'm gonna play this one yet. So yeah, I'll have to spend more time getting a clear view on it. But based on my TA, and I usually just religiously follow TA, even more so if it's just based on several time frames, right? So in this case, you have all three that kind of work well. But yeah, like I said, I kind of feel like the entire market is a little bit in a weird position where we just follow the traditional markets. So any kind of bullish setup can get broken to the downside if something weird happens in the traditional markets. Same thing to the upside, of course. So we're gonna get a bullish close into a new. I mean, it's unlikely, right? I mean, I think like if this is truly bullish, right, we're gonna close and then we're going to like 10K and then go back up, because I think this kind of thing screams for at least a wick to the downside, right? Could even close and then take out this low and then go back up. Even more so given that we have this daily where we have all this kind of wick action to the downside, and I think everyone would get really bearish if we kind of traded below that. So for me, like just the monthly, like when you get the monthly close that is bullish, right? Let's say this plays out bullish, which I'm not entirely sure about, but just based on the TA, there's a good chance it does, right? But you have here the monthly close, right? And people are like, okay, the monthly close bullish at 10.7, 10.8, right? That kind of area. I'm gonna long. The moment they start longing this and the monthly opens, the next one, there's a good chance that we trade lower for 10 days, right? And then trade higher for the next 20. So I wouldn't just, like if you're a low time frame trader, I mean, that kind of stuff is dangerous if you just jump into cold waters, ignoring the low time frames. Because you should always, like if you're trading monthly, you can long this kind of close immediately if you want to. But I don't think there's many swing traders in crypto. So there's definitely a chance to kind of look for longs lower. But if we close at support, right, it's usually a good kind of attitude to have is, okay, I'm waiting for like maybe a dip below this wick or a dip back into this support down here at 10K. That kind of stuff usually works well. Whereas if you just blindly long, that sometimes works, right? Like let's say here, that sometimes works. I mean, even in this case, you got like a tiny dip, right? But in this case, it would have worked, but it very often doesn't. I've literally switched bullish to bearish and back multiple times these past couple of days, says Danny. Yeah, I mean, I've seen that a lot, and I attribute that kind of to, there's a lot of high time frame traders looking at this chart right now, right? And they don't really give a shit how the daily looks, right? They're just gonna kind of look at the monthly. So you know there's a lot of interest into this kind of 10,750 area, and I was pretty certain, like from last week even, that we're gonna chop around that area. So that's what we've been doing, and that kind of chop usually shakes people out of their position and makes them flip bias. So yeah, not surprised by that. And I mean, even I've been looking at this monthly for a while, and even I get kind of like, I look at the daily and I'm like, oh shit, that doesn't look good. But it's just, this is in preparation for this monthly close. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna close somewhere around support here, and what happens after is the question, because I could see like a shakeout to the downside. I could see it take off immediately, but I mean, I'd be surprised by that. I think it makes sense to kind of shake out before, if it truly wants to go up. If it goes up first, like immediately runs, right, I could see us find resistance up here too. So monthly opens up, wicks into that kind of 11.5 level, and then goes back down. I could see that happen too. So we'll see how it goes. like this is for the first time in a long time, like I had like a pretty clear kind of technical setup to play, and I'm not entirely sure how to play it, just based on the fact that my macro view on all markets is kind of not in alignment. And I don't know if it's based on the fact that my macro view is wrong, or if it's based on the fact that, I mean, this could just be like a beautiful setup into nuke. Sometimes that happens, right? Or if it's just because I'm a bear tard, I don't know. But for me, I wouldn't want to short into this kind of setup. Like that's the least that I could do on this side. Like you're never gonna see me short into something like this. If we start closing next month down here, right? Oops. And invalidate this bullish setup, right? Let's say we close down here. I think there's a good chance that the cycle tops in, and then we gonna cycle back down to 7 or even 6. And then just range for like eternity. But before then, I wouldn't be interested. Like I wouldn't have a problem missing out like this kind of 1 to 2K move. Because I think this is where the risk is, right? Shorting into 10K, that's where all the risk is. Once 10K is convincingly broken, there's a good chance that it just keeps on rolling over. So not gonna short, just not entirely sure if I'm gonna long it or not. I see a head and shoulders in the 1 hour time frame. Yeah, I see that too, brother. I see that too. So I actually made this, Jesus Christ. Made this earlier, but who knows if that's gonna play out, right? I don't think it's like, I'd be surprised if this played out before the daily close, because that kind of ruined the monthly view. Like a middle of the box kind of close would suck, because then, like, let's say we closed in the middle of this box, right? Which, I mean, who knows, like maybe that happens, right? But then you have the top of the box as resistance, the bottom of the box as support, and then we maybe just range in that box for another month. That drives people completely insane, I think. So I hope that we kind of close up on top of the box, see some support come in. I don't know, but yeah, I see the same thing on the low time frames. Like there's this head and shoulders thingy into like a bigger head and shoulders. Pretty neat kind of trend line down here too, if you like that kind of stuff. But yeah, we'll see if that plays out. All eyes on the monthly close. We have 2 head and shoulders inside a big one, and you won't short it. Yeah, I mean, high time frames I had support, right? So I mean, that's the thing, right? These kind of patterns. Like, for example, I played this, right? I was like, okay, this looks like a head and shoulders. I'm going to play it because we're very far from high time frame support, right? And then I feel like there's a lot of breathing room to keep the short running. And that's what happened. In this case, you play this short, and where's the high time frame support, right? High time frame support is literally like at 10.7. So where do you want to keep, like, how do you want to keep it running? Like this goes down here, could easily rebound into the close at 10.7. Like there's not that much room down here before you run into support. You could obviously bet on support breaking, which, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised about based on the look of it, right? This kind of does look shitty, but like I said, it's gonna be dictated by the big boys and what they want to see for the monthly close, pretty much. So I don't want to bet into that. Just doesn't make sense to me. Sometimes it's just like you see this low time frame stuff and you're like, oh shit, this is a neat setup. And I mean, if you caught it on the right shoulder, like let's say you shorted here, I mean, do keep it running until invalidation, right? But like if you're just joining into the short, like literally at support, it's not something I would want to do. Me personally, right? If you're that kind of trader that can take that risk, it's completely fine, right? I wouldn't want to get caught off guard. But yeah, that's always, it's just how I play it, right? Whenever I have like, I want to play some low time frame stuff, I look at the high time frames and I look, okay, where are we on the low time frames and like where are we on the low time frames and where is that on the high time frames, right? So for example, you look at the low time frames, you see the head and shoulders, right? And then you look at the high time frames on the weekly and you see the support at 10.6. This high time frame support that's been really strong and has been meaningful a couple times, right? And then you go back on the low time frames and you notice that support is where all this buying has been, like literally the 10.6 level. That's where all these wicks have stopped, right? So there's a good chance that even if this broke down, that you would find new bidders right below these wicks, because high time frame people usually like to kind of bid into that stuff. So for me, that wouldn't be worth it. Like a $100 move into a possible kind of reverse instantly kind of situation wouldn't be worth it for me. So are we longing when it closes above the box? Like, I'm going to be looking for longs. I'm not really terribly excited to long into this kind of structure. Like I said, this is not like too pretty on the lower time frames. Like if you see this breakout above like 11K, then you would know, okay, you have like higher time frame support and a lower time frame idea. That kind of stuff would work for me. It would also work if we closed above the box and then broke down into like sentiment turning really bearish into a massive shakeout next month. And then I see something that I like and then I just buy that. Like let's say it breaks down here, goes to like 9.5, 9.6, 9.7, and then I'd swing long it to trying to at least from anywhere down here, right? Like let's say this candle has closed, we trade below next month, and then I see the potential of a complete buyback into a close back above the box, which oftentimes happens, right? Then I could see it go to like 14K after, just based on the chart, right? Based on nothing else but the chart, because the chart to me tells me, okay, I should be looking for buy opportunities. But then again, the chart isn't so bullish that I just blindly buy the close. I'd much rather look for buying opportunities on dips. But that could be ill-advised, right? This could be like it closes at support and then just mega rockets going into the next monthly. Happens from time to time. But if I miss that, I miss it. At least I closed my shorts at the bottom then, right? It's fine by me. We're gonna howl at the moon and FOMO long at midnight. I mean, that's a good attitude to have, right? I don't know if it's gonna be too profitable, but I mean, I dig it. I dig the idea. So yeah, we can talk about altcoins. A few altcoins are I mean, they all look like shit, right? But a few altcoins have the potential to kind of bounce, I think. So we can talk about that. We can also keep talking about Bitcoin if you guys have any questions. What do you guys want to see? More Bitcoin? And if yes, send questions over, or the altcoins, or whatever. I'm fine to do anything, really. So yeah, I'm down to do whatever you guys like. Okay, Cred asked for ETH, so I'll do ETH. And that, like, one of the reasons why I'm kind of like cautious on the Bitcoin front, right? And that is kind of like a lot of people don't talk about it. I think like very few people talk about it. That's how I should phrase it. Is usually when you have Bitcoin bullish, at the bottom you have a bullish setup on ETH as well. So you have a bullish setup on Bitcoin and a bullish setup on ETH, right? This monthly close is gonna close as a breakdown on ETH. So we had like a breakout into like through resistance on the monthly. This monthly is gonna close as a break back into the old kind of area, which is this thing, right? So this could have been a breakout, right, back into all-time high or whatever situation, but it didn't. Like, you didn't find any buyers there. Bear stepped in, broke down, right? And now you have the situation where you have a failed breakout to the upside, which is pretty bad, and the chart just screams to me, okay, look at like 270, at the 270 area, because that's the top of the old range. And we also had the failed breakout to the upside. So I would say like this chart screams that it wants to go lower into the 270 area, which doesn't agree with the Bitcoin view that Bitcoin wants to go higher, right? So you have kind of disconnect there. It could obviously be that ETH BTC just mega dumps and Bitcoin doesn't do anything, but that very rarely happens. So I think like that kind of breakdown on ETH USD would probably have something to do with Bitcoin as well. So this is not entirely in agreement, and the weekly time frame is even worse. If you look at that weekly time frame, this is kind of the area where we broke down. Like this is where the bear market started, reclaimed it, found support on it, rallied back up, and then put in this nasty candle to the upside. Now finding resistance back there, right? So you had this breakout to the upside, breakdown into a bearish retest. So this kind of looks like to me like it wants to roll over too, probably back into this area, which is kind of confluent with the monthly, right? So you have a bearish setup on the monthly time frame for ETH, a bearish setup on the weekly time frame for ETH. I don't know about the daily, I haven't looked at it in a while, but I mean, I could see this just straight up roll over too, right? So it's kind of a weird world where we have Bitcoin at weekly and monthly support, and you have ETH below monthly resistance and retesting weekly resistance. So it's kind of difficult to make a call. I usually like to have confluence between ETH USD and Bitcoin USD. So I'm going to be a little bit careful next month, see what happens. Because my best longs so far have been when I see ETH USD at support and Bitcoin USD at support, and not one at resistance and the other at support. That, I don't know, just very, very rarely happens. So yeah, pretty difficult situation all around. Like I understand why people are confused and why a lot of people are super bullish and a lot of people are super bearish, because really this is really hard to call. You have ETH as the perfect bearish poster child here, and Bitcoin that could possibly the perfect bullish poster child, whatever you call that. And then you have them disagreeing and you don't really know what's going on. And I mean, you're not alone. I look at those charts and I'm not entirely sure what's going on either. So yeah. Short the Bitcoin ETH pair. I mean, this is the ETH BTC pair, right? Which is kind of funny too, because I mean, this is all over the place too. We had this low time frame head and shoulders, broke to the upside, broke back down. You'd think, okay, this is bearish, because really what has it done? It has completed the head and shoulders, broke to the upside, and then didn't put any kind of rally in. But instead, it's just gone sideways, which isn't necessarily bearish, right? Because whenever you have a pattern failure, like let's say something like this, you break out. This is usually a super bearish setup, right? Because you have all these longs in here that you could punish by just pushing it down. But in this case, what it's done is it has actually kind of found support in here and chopped through the level. So I mean, this is pretty much, and it's not bullish, but it's not bearish either. So no fucking idea what that is doing. It's very weird to me too. So not too bearish actually on that pair on the low time frames. And then if you look at the daily, of course you could make the argument that we're kind of like rounding out into that resistance. But then again, like when do we have that situation where you get a head and shoulders, it breaks to the downside, and then it rallies back here, and it just spends like 5 days at that resistance? Like that's very rare. So I think like the entire market is just holding their breath for the traditional markets and doesn't really want to decide. So it doesn't really want to decide, okay, it wants to be bullish by just breaking above this resistance and then rallying past this shoulder, right? No one wants to stick the neck out and make that happen. But it doesn't really, like, it's not bearish enough to just fully break down either. So yeah, like the entire market to me feels like it's just waiting for a narrative to play out to the upside, or like a bearish narrative to play to the downside. If you get anything from the traditional markets that's bearish, probably gonna just have its impact on the crypto markets as well. Hey Don, are you currently in any trades at the moment? I've been buying some tiny amounts of altcoins, just a few that I like. Not gonna share it because I'm not done buying, but I mean I'm willing to take the total loss, and it's not a big amount, but yeah, been trying to get the liquidity on some of these altcoins is fucking terrible. Like it's literally impossible to get anything really. So yeah, been having trouble there. It's been taking a while. Some people are asking about XMR, so I can talk about XMR. So XMR is one of the ones that I've been interested in. This is actually one of the ones that I have bought. Been hinting on that for a while. But yeah, for me this looks good. It just straight up looks good based on the fact that one, we've had this range that broke to the upside, right? So I've been saying like if it breaks the range to the upside, it's probably going to go up there, right, into resistance. It kind of looks like it wants to do that right now. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for it to rally inside resistance, and then I'll see what's up. But to me, this just like on the higher time frames, that looks pretty bullish. And like the privacy coin narrative that's gonna come up, I think is a pretty good narrative to have. So don't hate XMR, but yeah, I don't really see any reason to be too bearish on this anymore. Like you've had all of this chop, ages of consolidation and range breakout to the upside. It's obviously a different story if we lose this kind of range and then fall back into it. That'd be bearish, right? But until then, and that's still quite a bit away, until then this looks bullish to me. So until we get any kind of bearish movements back into the range, I'm gonna be bullish on XMR. Someone asked about Link. I mean, if you guys remember, I posted this on Twitter, and that was like I posted this pretty much at the bottom, right, or like at least somewhere down here, and it kind of had a nice rally, but it looks really fucking weak to me. Like even if you look at the daily time frame, starting to get this slanted head and shoulders, right? Not entirely sure if it even makes it up to resistance, but I still think, like looking at the chart, I don't really care about the fundamentals. You can like love Link, hate Link, whatever. When I look at this chart, it just looks like a top to me. So I think Link's topped so far. Like I'm gonna change my mind if it does anything that warrants changing my mind. I'm not short right now because I've been trying to get higher. Might not get it, but yeah, this looks bearish to me. So yeah, it's a weird situation where some altcoins look really bullish, and then you have some altcoins that have been looking historically really bullish all the time look bearish to me. So is there any edge in trading now, or should I apply to McDonald's? Good question. I think, and that's one of the reasons why I've been moving to your coins. Whenever Bitcoin's restricted by like global markets, I think the altcoins are interesting because they're not entirely reliant on the global markets. And yeah, I'm gonna move. I mean, there's a reason why I'm not trading like the traditional markets, because there's less edge to be had, right? It's easier to trade crypto, in my opinion. And if crypto just aligns with the traditional markets, I don't see a reason to trade crypto, right? So for me right now, if we don't decorrelate from the traditional markets, the only kind of TA that I see that makes a lot of sense is analyzing the weakness and strength of crypto against the traditional markets, right? So you look at the traditional markets, you look at the S&P, you see, okay, the S&P broke down here, had like two massive red candles. What has Bitcoin done? And then you look at Bitcoin, you're like, okay, shit, that's pretty much the same thing, right? Not not particularly strong, not really interested, right? And I mean, you can look at the correlation, you can have that spit out to you and just see, okay, how high is the correlation? And when the correlation, or in general, when like the moves in Bitcoin, like the moves to the downside are weaker than the ones in the traditional markets, but the upside movements are stronger, then you know that there's strength in Bitcoin. And then you can kind of play that part, because then you know at least something, which is, if I want to long the traditional markets, I much rather long Bitcoin. So you can look for supports on the traditional markets and then play Bitcoin off of that. And because you know there's more strength in the crypto markets, you know that the bounces are going to be stronger. That's kind of one thing, like one way you can kind of trade this. But yeah, I don't like the correlation at all. The more it correlates, the worse it gets to trade. What do you mean by edge? So like, I mean, it depends on everyone, right? So you look at the market, right? And you make money trading this somehow, right? And the way you make money by trading it is by being able to analyze it properly, right? And if you have an advantage over other people in the market, then you have an edge over other people, right? I mean, that's pretty much what it means. You have an advantage, right? So you have an advantage in analyzing this kind of behavior. You know how to trade it. That edge goes away, or like at least goes down by a bit, if you just have this market correlate to another and then trade in a different way, right? Because the moment you have Bitcoin correlate to the S&P, you're not entirely trading Bitcoin anymore, right? And the S&P and Bitcoin have different trading behaviors. So you kind of have to adapt to that. And yeah, the S&P is not as easy to trade, I would say. Some people prefer it, I don't. I like Bitcoin trading more, or like crypto markets in general. But yeah, you lose some of that advantage that you have, or like, let's say you have a method to trade this and it suddenly stops working, or it works less well. That's because, yeah, we're trading differently now. Proper support resistance is an edge. For example, like if you're good at drawing or finding levels on the Bitcoin chart and trading off of them, and then suddenly it's completely wild and all over the place, I mean, it's probably because either we're correlated to another market or something else in the market has changed, that kind of stuff, right? And yeah, I definitely think, like, I mean, it's in general not a good thing that we're getting more and more correlated, because one of the reasons why like a lot of people are looking at crypto has been because it's uncorrelated. So yeah, but yeah, so overall Bitcoin looks like the charts look bullish to me. ETH, the chart looks bearish to me. ETH USD, ETH BTC I have no idea about. Like, this is some weird price action. Could see this break down or up. And the higher time frames aren't really a help either, because I mean, yes, we're pretty far from support, so this could go down like a little bit more. But I mean, we're in the middle of support resistance, right? So resistance up here, support down here. Like, I wouldn't want to take a trade in the middle of here. Like, if I'm short from up here, which I'm not, right? But if I were short from up here, I probably still try to short it till down here. But I wouldn't want to open a new short here, because where's your invalidation? Where's like really anything? I don't really see a reason to kind of start swing trades here. Litecoin, I mean, this is what I'd love to see for Litecoin. Not entirely sure if we're gonna get it. One thing that I'm eyeing for Litecoin, or like what I want to see, like at least see a reaction off of, is the Mimblewimble stuff that's coming out. For the people that don't know, like, yeah, just read Charlie Lee's Twitter feed, pretty much. I think he's been tweeting a lot about it. But yeah, they're trying to integrate Mimblewimble into like some privacy stuff. Like, the TLDR is they're trying to make Litecoin more private, and I'll expect him to shill it a lot, and I want to see like the reaction off of his shills, right? Like if there's strong buying going into his shills, I think there can be a nice move off of kind of narrative shift like that. Maybe even leeching off of the XMR move to the upside. Like I said, like the privacy kind of coin movement that might take off or might not, right? Who knows? But like I said, XMR looks pretty good. So I'm kind of looking for that narrative. Not entirely sure if it's going to play out or not. Chart-wise, this looks horrendous still. So take it with a grain of salt, right? So far, you have kind of like this situation. And yeah, if this just rolls over, it's going to look really shitty really quickly. So who knows, right? But there's a good possible narrative there. Just not entirely sure if it's going to play out or not. Does anyone think XRP looks good? We can talk about XRP really quick, because I think XRP is pretty much at the do or die level, which is really interesting to me, because if you look at this, right, and I talked about this last week as well, you have this massive kind of cycle low here, right? We dipped into it and then had a pretty nice reaction off of it. But so, like, since then, it's just been bleeding downwards. But now we're revisiting that that edge of the box, top of the box, whatever. That's the important part, right? You don't want to see it start losing that, because then it opens up the kind of potential to go down here. So we're right at support here on the weekly, and yeah, if that fails, I think there's gonna be a lot of blood to be had to the downside. But I mean, it's at support, so it makes sense to kind of expect it to find some support there. Still obviously in a massive bear trend. XRP has been downtrending for ages. I mean, if you look at the chart, right? Still down like 90%. Still like there's 1,000. Oh shit! Is it exactly 1,000 days till since all-time high? Almost, right? Jesus, time goes by fast. Yeah, 1,001 days since, or a little bit more, since all-time high. So, yeah, pretty big downtrend. And in downtrends, you generally don't expect supports to hold. But I don't mind this, right? Like, I could see it find support here, put in a nice bounce. The moment it starts like getting back into this range here, I think there's good upside potential to be had. So like if you're trying to long XRP, like XRP, whatever, I think there's a chance to do this kind of trade. And I mean, I'm thinking about taking it and then targeting up here somewhere, right? It's a pretty good risk reward trade. And if you get stopped out, you can try once more down here. And if you get stopped out on that, I mean, it's pretty much fucked, right? So I think there's like 2 more possibilities to long this. One right now, pretty much, and the next one at almost 0, and then the one after that is gonna be at 0, pretty much. So, yeah, if you're ballsy enough to kind of take that trade, I mean, I don't think it's a bad one. Chance of it playing out is obviously not 50-50. But I don't really mind these kind of trades. Like everyone hates XRP nowadays, so there's some fuel to be had, and I mean, barely anyone has any XRP anymore. So yeah, that's one of the ones I'm looking into. Not entirely sure if I'm gonna buy it or not. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of XRP, and it has to look damn amazing for me to take a trade in it. But yeah, I might take one here. Swell event in 2 weeks done, and their drop. I know. And you have like that's one of the reasons why I'm looking at like the majors again. They still haven't capitulated like I wanted to. Like I still like what I really want to see is like an accelerating dump on the majors, right? But at some point it kind of starts feeling like if you look at Litecoin, right? Litecoin is broken import support and still isn't breaking down. Like the people that have Litecoin feels like they're not going to capitulate. They're just going to let it bleed down. So yeah, I mean, maybe it just bleeds to eternity, right? It just keeps on bleeding out and just keeps on going down, never capitulates, never gives like a good entry. Or it's just the fact that people are just buying up the stuff that's getting sold and barely anyone sells, and then you get like a nice kind of candle to the upside. Not entirely sure. It's the same for like XRP, it's the same for pretty much all the altcoins, like the major ones. Barely any selling coming in, even if they break support. I've been holding this shit for 1,000 days. Thanks for the reminder, Don. Fucking hell, bro. That hurts to read. I hope it wasn't too big of a position. Barely anyone has it, but it has 10 billion market cap and 1.5 billion daily volume. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Barely anyone has it, but the people that do have it have a shitload of it, right? It's usually something I look for, right? When barely anyone has a coin. Like, for example, Link. The reason why I wouldn't touch Link is because I know a shitload of people have it. And I'm not entirely sure if, like, the bigger holders of Link still have too much, right? I mean, obviously, there's still Link whales. And there's a lot of whales that hold stuff all the way to a shitload of money into nothing, right? I mean, I know a few that have held coins from, like, I mean, I know a few people that have held like 1 million or 2 million XRP from the high to like a very, very low price. I mean, that's always going to be the case, right? But when you have a shitload of bag holders, right, you've successfully distributed a shitload of coins. And I mean, for me, Link just kind of screams that at me. Like, you have a shitload of people that just bought into this, that you can now, like, they're going to be bag holders from this point onwards. Yeah, I don't want to be involved. With XRP, we had the same story with XRP, right? I mean, XRP is pretty much the poster child of that kind of story because everyone and their mother had XRP. And a shitload of people were talking about it here, and now, like, when you see the XRP threads on Twitter, they're ghost towns, obviously, right? That could, one, mean this is just dying, right? And that's a very real possibility, because, I mean, it's XRP, right? I mean, this should go to zero at some point, in my mind. It's just a question of, are we gonna get another pump out of it or not? And is it cheap enough to risk it? That's kind of how I look at it. For me, this is going to go to zero, but it might go to something more than it is now on the way to zero. More normies have XRP than eFlow. Yeah. But like, they just have a little, right? It's not like they're having shitloads. But yeah, I mean, at some point these are gonna, like, at some point it's gonna be the last one till it bleeds out, right? And this could be it. It's just like, for me, it's at support and the risk reward is decent, so I might take it regardless. Even though I think it's like the long term target for me is still much lower. So yeah. But that's at support. ADA, whoops. ADA kind of bounced from support. But that looks kind of like it wants to, maybe it does something like this. Rallies into, hate when that happens. Rallies into resistance here and then puts in a lower high. Not entirely sure. I usually don't like this still reminds me of this, right? And that could be the kind of future movement of the altcoins. And don't get me wrong, when I'm saying, like, I might buy some XRP, like, this is not me going all in. This is not me putting any kind of significant percentage of my money into, like, these altcoins. It's just me taking a stab at them. And then if it plays out, I'm going to be happy. I made a few percent. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be sad. I lost a tiny bit. So I mean, I'm considering it still, like on XRP, still haven't pulled the trigger. Again, can you say a word on gold? My opinion doesn't really matter on gold because like this is the chart that I've had for gold. It broke to the downside. I have no idea where this goes. This could be like if it was crypto, I would know like, okay, is this likely to be a fake out or not? Like I usually have a good read on that kind of stuff. In the traditional market, it's not my market, right? I can't really tell you, okay, is this gonna go up or down? Because sometimes I don't know. And in the traditional markets, most of the time I don't know. The only time that I was really certain that something was gonna happen on gold was when we had this range. Because I've seen this a million times before. We had this beautiful range. I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure that's gonna play to the upside. Just based on TA alone. Like this was clearly accumulation to me, even more so given that we've had this massive shaker to the downside, right? We had this accumulation, we've had the markup. Is this distribution already? I don't know. Like we're at the point where I just don't know. I mean, if you want to watch this, I would say like watch the all-time high, closing below it. That's not necessarily the best kind of sign, I think, but my opinion is as good as anyone's. Like, is this a fake out to the upside? Like you have a high here and then you have a higher high here, but still get like a breakdown from here? I don't know, possible. Like sometimes like something that I see a lot of people do is just they know how to draw horizontals or diagonals or whatever, and then they're like, okay, I'm equipped to trade any market now. And I've seen a lot of people like trading gurus, whatever, say, okay, just follow these easy steps and you can trade any market. And I don't think that's necessarily true, because like to be able to trade a market successfully, you kind of have to know the market. And if you don't know how it usually behaves, if you haven't spent time doing it, you're just sitting there wondering. At least for me, that's like, maybe there's people out there that have TA that just works in every single market. And I mean, some of my concepts, like for example, if I see this stuff on any market, I'm pretty sure it's gonna go one or the other way, right? Like this was pretty, like this is a high confidence kind of setup for me. I'm pretty sure it's gonna work, right? Up here in the middle of nowhere, like that's where I'm out of my depth. And I'm more than happy to admit that. So yeah, my opinion doesn't really matter much up here. Wow. I mean, we're getting some monthly closes, so we can even look at the monthlies for the altcoins. Look at this, like ETH, still holding support, right? Like if you look at the monthly, I can put this away for a second. This doesn't belong in the monthly, this doesn't either. Like if I had to just kind of look at the higher time frames for ETH, you have support here, right? This is gonna be a tight range, and you have resistance here. So ETH BTC, as long as it doesn't break down here on the high time frames, that's not necessarily too bearish. Even more so given the fact that we've had some consolidation here, breakout to the downside, which ended up as a fake out because we reclaimed the range, right? Like if you think about it in a high time frame sense, you have this range here. Right, you have this range, broke to the downside, reclaimed it, went straight up, and yeah, I don't necessarily mind that look. Doesn't look too bearish to me, so it's kind of weird. Like ETH USD looks bearish, ETH BTC doesn't look like anything. I don't know, like weird situation. Litecoin monthly, Jesus Christ, not looking too pretty. Bitcoin Cash monthly looking terrible. XRP monthly, I mean, that's not too bad, but it's not necessarily pretty either. ADA, ADA is gonna be interesting. Look at that, because what we're gonna see here is a bullish retest technically. So yeah, Technically not looking too bad on ADA. I'll have to follow this and see how it goes. Might have to speak with my second-hand man, Loomdot, on this one. My second-hand altcoin trader, anyway. And consult him what's coming up with ADA. If this is just a fluke or if there's something cool coming up with ADA, I don't know. But like the high time frame on ADA doesn't look too terrible, in my opinion. Who knows if that's gonna play out, right? But technically you have this kind of move into a shakeout, into a retest of the support, right? So could see something like this rounding out and then maybe have another step at some upside. I'm gonna keep following this. Remind me to keep looking on the ADA monthly chart. I have to write that down. And I mean, technically, ignoring the fact that it's dumped so much, it had the strongest move of the altcoins, of the altcoin majors, besides maybe ETH, but this was pretty quick, right, in comparison to a lot of the other ones. So yeah, we'll see. I don't like ADA just because I don't like Hodgkinson. But I mean, if the chart's bullish or more bullish than the other ones, I'll have a look at it anyway. Okay, people are asking about BNB, so we'll talk BNB. Where's my BNB? Probably up here, right? Yeah. Oh shit! Look at that. Do you guys remember last week where I was like, oh shit, I don't know. Like a lot of my friends sold BNB, but it's still like a bullish retest of the range technically. Fucking hell, man. Doesn't look too bad, honestly. Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. Based on the weekly anyway. Like we're finding support on this swing high, right? We can turn the screen because we're coming from the upside, broke to the upside, failed back, like fell back into it, and it's now kind of rallying. It's going to be interesting how this weekly closes. If it's closing inside this box, I would guess that we're finding resistance at the upper side. And then I wouldn't be sure about us going up. But if it closes outside the box to the upside, that's not a bad look. And I mean, the rejection level here, pretty clean one. But like if it's really super bearish, shouldn't even have gotten that far. So I keep on looking at that as well. Could have another leg in it. But then again, like BNB is already massive. Like that's the thing with like trading these big coins, right? There's a limit on the upside that they can have. And yeah, if you think about it, like if you look at the market caps, for example, I know this kind of sucks because market caps aren't really accurate in crypto and blah blah blah, but it kind of works. If you look at the market caps, you're never going to have an altcoin, or at least in my opinion, never going to have an altcoin outperform Bitcoin, right? So a market cap, like whenever an altcoin market cap goes above Bitcoin's, you know that you're in an altcoin bubble. So you just sell your altcoins and move it back into Bitcoin or move it into fiat. That's how I've played the altcoins. Like XRP, for example, XRP went briefly above Bitcoin in the last altcoin bull market. And that was when I knew I was supposed to get the fuck out. And I got the fuck out. It still rallied a little bit, but then afterwards crashed. I think that's going to always be a top indicator because smart people are just going to sell their shit when they see that, right? So that's the obvious upside for the altcoins, right? If you're like longing like a top 10 altcoin, the upside is maximum Bitcoin market cap. Very likely that it's not going to even reach that, but that's the maximum upside. So it's obviously the case that if you're longing something from far down the list, right, that's going to have more upside potential because you have an upper cap, but you obviously don't have a lower cap. So yeah, a few people are talking about Zcash. I mean, there's a few news that drove the recent price movement, right? So this recent price movement has something to do with Coinbase adding some cool shit. But yeah, I like, generally speaking, the privacy kind of stuff I like. The chart for me for Zcash isn't really bullish yet. We still have to kind of crack this resistance. If it does that, I think there's a good chance that it just keeps on rallying. But yeah, I don't mind it. Like, if you want to long it, I don't mind it. I don't really have a setup. Like, I mean, could have longed this support, of course, right? But that's always easy to say in hindsight. But until that resistance gives, like, let's say we're trading back above here, right? Fall back into that resistance, or like in that case, support again. This kind of long trade would make sense to me. And then take it like somewhere up there. Like, that kind of trade would make sense to me, right? But until it kind of breaks through that resistance, I'm not gonna get involved. But if you did long this, good job. Like, I mean, I guess like if you took that long, you set up something like this or this. I mean, good shit. I think that low shouldn't get taken out, because if you get lows on good news and then you rally off of those good news, you shouldn't really take the low again, because if the market is truly bullish, those good news should propel it upwards. Or at least not on the closing basis, right? Like, if you have a crazy wick down there but close back above, that's fine, I guess. But on a closing basis, you really don't want to see lows get taken out that have been happening on good news. Are you buying Uni? No, definitely not. It's one of the ones that I'm definitely not going to touch. I'm not really bullish on DeFi, just based on the amount of scams that I see. Whenever I see the increase, like whenever I see the market turn from like cool projects into a few scams, into the maximum amount of scams, like pretty much everything is a scam, I know that it's in a bubble, right? Because everyone sees that there's obvious money to be made there, and then they start scams. And the moment people stop being interested in pretty much in new projects because they're getting scammed so much, you just see volume drop, and then you see price drop, and then you see interest drop. So I'm not interested in DeFi. Like, I'm not gonna buy the Uni dip, whatever. Might go up, might go down, I don't know, but I'm not interested in it. I think, like, in general, like, if this, we've had a nice altcoin move in the DeFi bubble in itself, right? But it's not been like the entire market in a bull market or whatever, like how it has happened in the past, right? In the past, you've had like wheat coins go up, and then you have them trade up, go sideways, and then you have a shift from that narrative to housing coins, like with some stupid shit. Like in 17, you had some stupid shit, like housing market coins, whatever. They went up, went sideways, and you had a shift from that into privacy coins, even though like Zcash, for example, never really mooned, right? So you had private coins, like it went like from one thing to the next, right? And at some point it got so crazy that just everything kept going up, right? At the start, you had one sector pump, then the next, then the next, then the next. And then it got so crazy that you just had everything going up, right? And some sectors outperformed. That was kind of your job to kind of find the ones that outperformed. But you didn't really have to do anything but throw money at the dartboard. Or like in general, like throw darts at any coin and put money in it and then just make money, right? We're not in that stage. If anything, right, if you're believing like we're having some kind of nice altcoin rally, I think we're in the stage where you go from one narrative to the next. So we had the DeFi narrative. And the crazy thing is, like, that went up and down. Like, it didn't go like last time where you had, it went up and then stayed up. And then eventually even had like a second tinier bump, or like a small one, which still was like a 2x or 3x. But you had this kind of movement, right? So, money came in, a shitload of people bought the bags and then got dumped on, right? And if anything, I think we're gonna have like, you have one narrative, go to the next one, to the next one. And it feels like you have just money sloshing around from the one narrative to the next, to the next. and even like people like taking heavy profits into that narrative. So I could see like that DeFi narrative shift into privacy narrative, shift into something else. But I could also just see it stop at like this being the perfect scam in like an altcoin bear market, and nothing else can take off. I could see that happen also. But I'm not gonna buy the one thing that's already done its move. Just seems like a waste of capital to me. But I could be massively wrong, right? Maybe this still has a lot of legs. I'm just not interested in buying the backs of other people that are very willing to get out. What do you think of holding ETH as a long-term strat into ETH 2.0? I think ETH 2.0 is probably going to dump the price. Like the moment it comes out, it's going to be a sell the news event, I think. So maybe hold it till shortly before. I wouldn't hold it into ETH 2.0. But that said, like I know a few whales that's been accumulating ETH at crazy amounts personally. And they're looking to kind of run the staking bubble. So some people disagree with me, and some people with a lot of money disagree with me. So make up your own mind about it, because like I can't predict the future on that kind of stuff. But for me, it sounds like a sell the news event. DeFi to NFT. I don't think the NFT thing is gonna really take off. Like it's had a nice little tiny thing going, but it's so stupid I don't think it takes off. Like there's a limit to stupidity, and I think NFT is very close by, personally. But yeah, that's that. Zcash, like I said, would have to kind of break the resistance. And I know people are gonna fucking hate me for the NFT comments, but for me it just sounds ridiculously stupid. And like every kind of comment I've gotten that has tried to prove me wrong just sounded even more stupid to me. So either I'm just totally not getting it, which is very possible, or like people are just trying to sell some weird ideas that make no sense. I'm not entirely sure. Someone asked about Dogecoin. I mean, Dogecoin's on the way, man. Dogecoin's on the way. Like, I've been saying don't buy Dogecoin above 15 sats. And I mean, it's on the way there, I think. This is the range of Dogecoin. This entire thing. We hit the top of the range. Some people even got lucky and got to sell 60. I didn't. But we're now heading to the bottom of the range, I think. And it's going to be interesting to see if we're going to find back like support at 22 sats again. I could see that happen, but honestly, I still think like there's a good chance we go at least to the middle of the block, if not to the lower end. So, I mean, if you just look back on history, and if history is going to repeat itself, 15 sats bottom, 15 sats bottom. Give me that 15 sats bottom again. And I don't care, like if I buy 15 and it goes to 10, I'm not gonna panic. I might start panicking below 5, because then fuck. Then I gave like back 2/3 of the money I put in. But then again, if you think about it, my buys have been very low on Dogecoin. Like this was the last significant time where I bought Dogecoin. Then again, like I bought this pump and this pump. Like I bought both of these into like this pump and this pump. Didn't buy anything in here. This was the Binance pump, and this was the Elon Musk pump. Not Elon Musk. This was TikTok. I think this was Elon Musk. So you've had some narratives on Dogecoin. But if Dogecoin's not ready, right? If Dogecoin's not ready to take off, you can have the best narrative. You can have Elon Musk tweet about it, and it doesn't really give a shit. So Elon Musk tweeted a couple times on this, and it took off. But I think the only kind of way this really goes up is if it goes low. But it's approaching levels where I'm comfortable just putting money in and forgetting about it. Like there's some coins that I'm just gonna do that with, because I've made money with them in the past, and I'm happy to just give like a tiny part of it back. Dogecoin is one of them. Like if I buy Dogecoin at like 15 sats and it goes to 0, I'm gonna be sad that it's at 0 more than I'm gonna be sad at like losing money, because like fucking love Dogecoin. But that I can say because I've traded this successfully over the years by just buying that same support. And sometimes you gotta be comfortable with losing money, and that would be one of the times for me anyway. And it's been the same with Bitcoin below 6K for me. But yeah, Dogecoin is just close to my heart because that's pretty much what got me into the crypto trading world, more so than even Bitcoin did. Elon Musk? I said Elon. It's just my German accent is is butchering stuff. I'm sorry about that. What would be the monthly close of Bitcoin? I don't know what the monthly close of Bitcoin is gonna be, but the bullish retest of Bitcoin, like the perfect bullish retest of Bitcoin would be the close. You just hover over this candle and then you see up here, open, high, low, close, right? You hover over this candle, you see, okay, what's the open of this candle? The open of the candle is 10761, right? Or you do the same here and you're like, okay, what's the close of this candle? Because it's a green one, right? What's the close of this candle? 10761. And then you know, okay, this level is 10761. You can also kind of look at it this way. You use the magnet, not this one. You use the magnet. So that's always gonna focus on either the low of the wick or the low of the candle or the high of the candle or the high of the wick, right? So in this case, just do it like this and you have the level 2. So that's 107,614. BitMEX, the thing is, and why we might not close perfectly at the level, if you look at Coinbase, oh, that's still my old trade. Good times. Not accurate anymore. If you look at Coinbase, the same kind of level on the monthly is a little bit different, right? So that's, oh shit, that's actually pretty damn close. That's just $1 off, very much, or a little bit less even. But then if you look at Bitfinex, the level is 10.8, and then you look at a Bitstamp, the level is, oh, that's also pretty damn close. So 10760 is pretty accurate, but sometimes, I mean, even now you have a difference between these two, or like a couple exchanges of a few dollars, right? And that difference goes up or down sometimes. Laughing my ass off. Are you all buying up XMR already? Let me see. Are you pumping my bags? Jesus. It's not what I intended. I don't think that is it, by the way. Like, me talking about this, I think it's more of the fact that this is obviously curling up, right? Than me talking about it. So you had this parabola. But yeah, if you're buying into like blow off top that possibly retraces a little, don't blame me, right? I bought lower. But yeah, this doesn't, like, this is the parabola. I don't hate this shit. I like it. On Binance, it's different. Yeah, it's on every single exchange. It's a little bit different, but 10760. Did I say it? Yeah, 10760 is the level to watch, pretty much. Doesn't have to be accurate. Like, doesn't have to be. We don't have to close 10760 exact for it to be like a bullish retest. It just has to be kind of close. But yeah. So yeah, got a few altcoin setups that could be decent. I'm looking at Litecoin to see if it can pop out of this one. I'm looking at, I mean, XMR I already talked about. I'm looking at a few smaller ones that I'm not going to talk about because, yeah, fuck ruining the little liquidity that is there. And I mean, Dogecoin, for example, looking for lower, but I mean, maybe it's fine support at the same level again. There's a chance that it just gets bought up again. Who knows, right? I want to see it go anywhere in the screen box. That's pretty close by already. So yeah, I'm looking for some altcoins. Could see, like, if the traditional markets tank completely, could see some altcoin dips into that support, and then we just pray that it holds, right? Jesus, that's not what I intended. That's a lie duck, as we and we know it. Nah, man. Like the good thing is, and that's kind of how I treat my Twitter too. I don't want to pump and dump anything. Like it's not my kind of style. Like I'm buying stuff because I think it's gonna go up, and then it goes up not because I shill it, but because there's other people buying it, not based on my shills. Just the way I go, the way I wanna kind of treat this thing. Like I could easily pump it down like low market cap coins, but I don't wanna. Making money that way is kind of scummy in my opinion, so I just rather not. Like whenever I have like a small cap coin that I like, I'm just not gonna talk about it. And or like if I'm buying one, I'm just not gonna talk about it. If it goes up, great, that's good for me. But I don't want to be like shilling a coin where you can put 10 Bitcoin in and it doubles, right? It's not my intention. So yeah, that's kind of it for me, I think. So watch the monthly close. We're probably all hoping that it kind of closes nicely, and I think it's a good kind of attitude to have to not FOMO buy these closes, but it's definitely like it would be a bullish close. I think it makes sense, like if you get a bullish close there, and then you get the weekly, like towards the end of the week, holding 10.6 as well. Maybe that's going to be interesting. But like I said, like we're kind of the playing ball of the traditional markets right now. So you got to watch these as well. And it gets mega confusing. And for me, that's not necessarily the kind of market that I want to trade in, at least with too much exposure, right? Like it makes a lot of sense to kind of lower your risk, in my opinion, if you're not entirely familiar with how the market trades. And I think that's the case right now because it trades differently than normal. And yeah, and then just look at the altcoins, see if there's anything that jumps out at you, because like I said, when you have the altcoin, the majors, or like especially Bitcoin, just trade like the traditional markets, I could see some of the big guys jump into the altcoins, make some movements there. Check Sushi Don. Sorry, bro, I'm not interested in sushi. It's the same with Uniswap. It's not something I would want to buy in general, and I have no real interest in ever buying it. So in my opinion, doesn't really matter, right? Because I'm always going to be bearish biased just based on what I think about that kind of stuff. But yeah, VeChain still at support. Like this is support. If it breaks through that, I mean, that's fucked. But if it is, like if it doesn't, it's not. But yeah, that's it from me. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for Bybit for sponsoring the show. Like I said, they have some new TP orders where you can kind of split your TPs and that kind of stuff. Links in the description if you want to read about it. If you don't, that's cool too. But yeah, I appreciate them sponsoring us, and appreciate you coming by as always. Friday is gonna be fun because Gainsey is gonna come by. So if you wanna hear Gainsey, hear his insights, see what he thinks about the DeFi stuff, about Bitcoin, about everything, come by Friday. That's gonna be fun. Yeah, it's gonna be Cred, me, and Gainsey. So same time, and I can only recommend coming by because I mean it's Gainsey. It's gonna be hilarious, I think. But we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, thanks for coming by. See you guys Friday, or if you don't want to come by when there's a guest, if you're shy or something, I'm gonna be on next Wednesday as well. So yeah, see you then. Bye bye.